Hi, everybody. So, I was so excited. I mean, like I said last time, I was in Jeremiah. I went back and I was working on Job this last week because I really want to do a video on Job and the stupidity of prosperity theology and oh my gosh, how do they think Elihu is right? Like what the crap, guys? And that was my plan. And then my Facebook page was paid a visit by the founder, and I don't know what his role is these days, but by the founder of Living Scriptures, who disagreed with me on some principles regarding refugee resettlement. And that gets a video of its own because the Living Scriptures are, in great measure, why I have the views on refugee resettlement that I have. So that's, yeah. And I guess for those of you who are watching this who don't know what the Living Scriptures are, Living Scriptures is a series of videos. There was one of those multi-level marketing, direct sales kind of thingies back in the day where they're cartoons, musical cartoons about different stories through the Bible and the Book of Mormon. And I know that they still do stuff today, and they did Heroes of the American Revolution and Heroes of History, and it's a lot of the people look like the people in The Swan Princess because similar animators and such. So, we never actually got those. My parents were some of those savvy people, and we got 2 free. It's like a free Bible New Testament video and a free Book of Mormon video, and they had, little scenes from the actual long videos and just one song from each of those. And so in one of them, my mind tells, it's associated in my head with Alma the Younger. It might be from The Prodigal Son. I don't actually know why. The song is about one of the parables, so it wouldn't really make a lot of sense for it to be in the Alma the Younger one. But regardless, although I haven't watched this VHS tape since, more than half my life ago, really probably since the 90s, which is crazy, I still remember this one song, and it has informed a lot of stuff. So maybe we should blame Lex Diaz-Avedo instead of the other guy for it, but I don't know if he actually wrote the lyrics. And the song says, what is it? In my heart the wheat and the tares grow together. In my heart the good and bad grow side by side. The season is here for good growth to appear in my heart. In my heart. And it talks about how the parable of the talents, or not the parable of the talents, sorry, the parable of the wheat and the tares exists within each of us, as well as within all of the expanse of humanity. And because of that song, I really like that song. I actually started singing it to myself today during the sacrament in church today, and started, I don't normally get emotional in the sacrament, but I started singing and crying while thinking about that song and about how God's mercy lets us in even when we don't deserve it, and got to looking over the parable of the wheat and the tares, which is one of my favorite parables because of that. And so if you remember the parable of the wheat and the tares, as is in Matthew 13, I don't know what I keep looking at. It's just my drawer and the wall and the bed. I keep looking at it like I'm reading something, but there's nothing there. And I'd show you, but my room's messy. Where was I? The parable of the wheat and the tares talks about how it's, I hope you know it. A certain man sowed seed in his field, and at night his enemy came and sowed tares, and they started to grow up. And considering that tares and wheat supposedly look the same, you have to wonder, how did they ever know that there were tares and wheats put in? But it's a parable, so you just got to deal with that kind of stuff. And the workers in the farm were like, dude, we got to go in and get these tares out. And the farmer says, nay, lest ye uproot the wheat also, or pull out the wheat also. Regardless, if you're trying to pull out all the bad stuff, you're probably going to ruin the good stuff too. So don't worry about it. Let it all happen, let it all grow up and come in, and at the harvest time, then we will separate it out, and we'll burn the bad stuff in the other. And later in the chapter, Jesus' disciples ask him to explain it. He does this big, long explanation about how the workers are the angels, and this is that, and at the end of the world, all the workers are going to be gathered together and burned. And in a nutshell, it basically says, don't worry about people. Don't try to condemn people. And I might have done a video about this before, I know I've done a Facebook post about how the overzealous leaders who thought that I was a corrupting influence on other youth in my childhood wards, actually those leaders' efforts to get me to be less corrupting actually led some of the other youth to leave the church because they thought it was unfair and all this other stuff. And we see that a lot in people's lives. But the thing I wanted to say is, in the refugee crisis, we're acting like the angels or like the workers who God says, no, you're thinking about this all wrong. Now, do I want terrorism coming into America? No. But do I think it's worth risking the lives of Americans to definitely save lives of other people? Yes. There was a good takedown of whoever shared the Skittles analogy. I feel like it was one of the Trump sons, about how 3 of these Skittles were poisonous, would you still eat them? And so it was like, if the other Skittles are like lives that we're saving, then like, heck yes. And I'm of that regard too. I've put up a lot of citations and things on my Facebook of the real lack of violence among immigrants, especially the lack of violence among illegal immigrants of the 19 never mind. I don't know where I'm going with this. But, so then I got hit with something else too. As I'm reading in Matthew 13, there's a footnote to the JST in the appendix. Now, for those who might be watching this who aren't LDS, we have an expansion and revision of the Bible, and so we don't use it very much, but sometimes if there's important things, they will put it in the footnotes, and if there's longer important things, they put it on the back of our Bibles. So, the JST has a rewriting of Matthew 13 and the stuff about the wheat and the tares and the parable, but then in the appendix, right after that, is something from Matthew 16. It's a revision. See, and revision is the wrong word. I mean, I could go into more explanation, but most of you watching this are Mormon anyway, so who cares? It's a retelling of whosoever shall find his life whosoever shall save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall find it, right? And in the JST of Matthew 16, it says, I should pull it up. I had it pulled up before. Let me find it real quick, because I want to quote this, because I think it's important. Yeah, so there's the stuff, Matthew 13. I had it in actual physical scripture, but I pulled up in here. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And now for a man to take up his cross is to deny himself all ungodliness and every worldly lust and keep my commandments. Break not my commandments for to save your lives. For whosoever will save his life in this world shall lose it in the world to come. And whosoever will lose his life in this world for my sake shall find it in the world to come. Therefore forsake the world and save your souls. So that's going to be my statement on the refugee crisis. Break not my commandments for to save your lives. For whosoever will save his life in this world shall lose it in the world to come. Am I willing to live for my faith and die for my faith? I'd like to think so. But if my death is what's required for somebody else to live, or if my death is a possibility in order to give others a chance to live? Why would we be opposed to that? Have a good day. I love you.